politics of fear and hate are wrong. We love you and politics of compassion
But America,
and love are right.
We are not going back.
You know, are we still going to have, you know, rights to adopt children? Or will that be something that the states start taking away? Mm-hmm. That like, no, we can't, you know. We won't, you know, same-sex couples can't adopt kids in this state or from this organization. You know, and I don't really know anything about the adoption process. So yeah,
right. And the thing is that like I mean, we've looked into it and just kind of seen like how would that go, how would that work. But the thing is I've heard so many people talk about, well, you can't force an organization to give you a child. No, I'm not trying to force anybody to do anything. But the thing is there are quite a few many, even here in Birmingham, children who are being born and then put into foster care or like having to be, you know, going to orphanage, like community homes, because these children still need someone to show them love.
Yeah.
Every child that is in this system needs love.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, I'm not trying to, I see both sides. I see what people are saying where they're like, well, the child has no choice. Okay. Well, if my child decides that they want to be emancipated, all right. Good luck. Go ahead. But just like, I mean, every parent in America, I didn't get a choice of what
none of us
family
got a
I was
choice,
born
right.
into.
You know, there's going to be bad people, gay or straight.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And we all know that. But that's what makes me mad, because they don't see all of us normal people out here.
Right.
And the normal gay people that you hang out with on the weekends and all that. And another thing is it just drives me crazy. The media has, with everything, news, sports, everything,
sensationalized everything.
Yeah.
has turned everybody, regardless of which side you're on.
Yeah.
If you like this one player, that the media has just smashed controversy for clicks and likes and
ratings.
And to me, in my lifetime, this is the worst it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I've never thought, my God, like you go on Facebook, Twitter, or it's not even called Twitter anymore. That's how old school my brain is.
I'm not accepting the new name, so we can all just call it Twitter.
You know, you go on there and it's just nothing. I mean, it's everybody beating each other up over something, and it's just, I'm like, just stop. I mean, it gets old, and that's why I can't stay on that stuff. And that's, you know, I would love to just be a social media influencer and, you know, do videos and stuff like that all day long. That's just not me. But it makes me not even want to be on it.
Yeah.
And like, let me just FaceTime my friends and talk to my friends, and you know,
you'll have better connections that way.
Well, yeah, and you know, I do know what's going on out in the world. I'd make myself educated on that, but I can't spend. I did the bullet points, and I know the things going on, but I can't get in there and just, because it makes me so mad about one bad apple's going to, you know, ruin it for all of us, of everything that we've worked for the last 30, 40, 50 years.
And in our careers, like, we're on social media all the time. Like, we're having to create content. We're having to do things to, like, engage with our, you know, audience. And, you know, I've done it. I'm sure everybody's done it. Like, the doom scrolling.
Oh, my gosh, right.
I read something the other day that was like, you know, the kids who were born in like the 80s and the 90s are probably the last generation to know what it's like to come home and just sit with your family and like not have any interruptions. Because like I remember playing outside until the street light came on and mom like hollered out the door and was like, you know, soup's on. Like
my dad blew a coach's whistle in our little hook of it wasn't even a neighborhood, it's a little road, a little holler.
A little holler.
Little holler. Everybody, all my friends, we all lived in that that little circle, and you could hear that whistle from a half mile away, and everybody's like,
coach's whistle.
Joe and Kelly have got to go home. Raj is blowing the whistle down there. Bye, y'all.
Well,
But,
yeah, and I grew up on a red dirt road, and where like I literally had basically no neighbors, and we had a street light that was in my yard, and so like we'd be outside.
The
just-
security light.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
would just be outside playing
have one of
tag
those
or
at the
whatever, and
farm.
like the light would come on, and Mama would be like,
Yeah.
"All right, lights on, come on in."
Yeah.
And so like, you know,
I love those times. Those are my favorite, like looking back.
oh my God, when
being
you get on
out all day
TikTok
long.
and Facebook and like, God, just dating myself, like, and I'm not even,
Yeah.
I'm not even feel that old. But to see things that you grew up with that you miss now, like you think like, wow, those really were the good old days.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It was simpler times. It was less, and I'm sure, to me, there was less hate.
but
And if
everybody
there
was
we
so,
didn't know it.
everyone's so well connected now.
It's
Those things
it's
were happening.
these.
Those things
Yeah.
were happening.
Yeah,
It was just that we didn't know about.
they weren't as
And news was more
Right.
local
TV
or regional.
Yeah, you're reading
And-
the paper. You
Yeah.
can't,
Right.
I
People
mean, with
are
these-
too scared to be out past dark now because
Oh,
the horror stories of the boogeyman's going to get you because did you see that little Susie Joe was just playing in her yard last week and
Yeah,
at
Snatched up.
7 o'clock she got snatched up. Like it was like, oh my God, like
yeah.
okay, so now parents across the country are upset and like now that their kids can't go anywhere without geotagging them and like I feel like eventually we're all going to get chipped and I mean and honestly if you have a phone you basically are
Yeah.
because I mean I'm following a lot of my friends
Same.
on like on the phones
Yeah.
because you can literally like find mine. It just shows you where their iPhone is, and I can see when Brandon's coming home, like when he's like facing an accident or something because like he sat at this red light for too long. Like we become so well connected that now we say it's simpler times. It was simpler times. We just were oblivious
Yeah.
to what was going on around us because those things were still happening. We
Yeah.
just didn't know about them.
Right.
And like the news wasn't making as much money as they were on sensationalizing
Yeah.
things that happened. Because honestly, when you go back and you think if Columbine would have happened in today's day and age, like I think that a lot of things would have been different. A lot of things would have been handled different. A lot of things would have been discussed differently, talked about differently, or like nowadays, I feel like whenever there's a school shooting, we send thoughts and prayers, and then we do nothing about it.
Yeah.
No,
That's the
because
truth.
there's something else right behind it.
Right?
and
We
right
send
behind it.
our thoughts and prayers to those families, and then like we move on.
Yeah.
And no legislation, nothing is done. But then you try to get legislation done, and it's like you have opposition from folks who are sensationalizing things. I also think I am not a lobbyist. I hate listening to people talk about, the Republicans are backing this or the Democrats are backing this because their PACs are against it or their
Yep.
PACs are for it.
Yeah.
Because, your political action committee is going to be at the forefront. Like the NRA, trust me, half the Republicans would not be like where they are today in their support of the Second Amendment had it not been the NRA knowing that they can make a profit from it. So like you
About
have
money.
right, you have things like that. Like if you have the money, then
On
you can,
both sides, it's
then you can change
yeah. Oh, yeah.
legislation.
It's-
I'm sure that people would be in favor of, more people would be in favor of LGBTQ plus, like inclusion in democracy if it made the money.
if they were making money off of
Yeah.
it, they're
Right.
getting some sort of kickbacks or because it just yeah.
I can't remember who it was. There was a comedian. Was it Nicole Byer? Maybe I don't know. There was a comedian that I watched who said, if you want to know, she's a black comedian. She said, if you want to know how to change laws, how to do things, hit the white man where it hurts. Hit his pocketbook. Because if you start messing with the white man's money, then that's when things are going to change. And I don't know when that came into play. And honestly, like maybe y'all can like chime in and let me know like what where that started, because if you think back, like people like Richard Shelby, longtime Alabama senator, was a Democrat well before
Yeah,
like
and that's
the Republican Party, like
the
the values
Dixiecrats, and yeah,
changed.
it's
See, I don't-
it's a complicated thing, and
Yeah.
I've tried to look into it, and it's more complicated than I can than you can like put in a simple.
Right. But I'd be real
Infographic.
interested to know and to find out like why a lot of people politically
Civil rights
like
and white flag.
decided to jump from one party to the other, because I think right now, even now, the Republican Party that I knew growing up is not the Republican Party of today, because you still have a few who are holding true to those values and are truly putting America first. But when you think back to now, like you have Democrats, Republicans, and MAGA, and there probably are extreme liberals that that I've heard them speak, but like I don't agree with everything that they say,
Right.
because like, do I want everybody to get along and be happy? Absolutely.
Sure.
But I understand that there are pros and cons to everything that happens, but you have MAGA who wants it done one way. You have extreme liberals, I don't know what you would even call them, like that want it done this way.
Yeah.
But then you have like who are the true like Republican Democrat moderates who take, I think who was it? Doug Jones was a very good example of like Democratic moderate person, because there were a lot of things that he was voting in favor of that I kind of saw that I mean, I did kind of write into him and like, hey, like, can you explain this? And I would get like a little detailed pamphlet back, but just letting me know like, okay, he took the entire bill into consideration, not just the fact that somebody was in favor of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I mean, even who was it? Marjorie Taylor Greene was on the news the other day, and well, I would say the other day, but it was like 2 weeks ago. And this whole big, beautiful bill was up for debate, and they were talking about it. And she was like, I voted in favor of it. And then they cited one part of it, and she was like, I didn't know that was in there.
Oh yeah, she admitted she didn't read it.
And I was like, oh, wait, like, how
Yeah.
you didn't read it? Like, how are you elected? If I was in your constituency, I would be so mad that you passed something and didn't read it solely because you probably were going to be making money off of it. And if you're making money off of your taxpayers and your constituency, then you don't even need to be in office.
Well, I've seen this online, and it's in that like phase where you see something new and you're like, huh, that's interesting. So like I don't really have a lot of thoughts around it. It's just kind of marinating a little
Right.
bit. But have y'all heard of the horseshoe theory? Where so if you think of a horseshoe
Okay.
and the extremes, far left, far right, are actually closer than the moderates in the middle.
I'm going to write this down.
So then, like,
horseshoe
your
theory.
far right will be down here, your far left will be down here, and they're actually more in common
In common than they are.
than they are different. And it's the moderates and everybody that leans more towards the middle where there's that biggest separation. It's just something that made me be like, huh, that's something to think about and maybe try to bring when I'm listening to stuff on either side, and bringing that perspective to it, and maybe trying to like see where this is.
It's a big commitment, and the thing is, I try to like be as open-minded as possible, especially like when it comes time for like election season, because like we're coming into an election season.
Yeah.
That is, I would go so far as to say this is more monumental, like more important than the presidential election,
Right.
because action doesn't happen at that presidential level. Action happens based on our Constitution.
Yeah.
Like if half America could actually like read it, would be that the Congress is the one who is in charge of making the laws
Yep.
and doing this stuff, because the executive branch of government just executes what they do. And yeah, sure, everyone's like, well, who can just executive order this and executive order that? Well, yeah, okay, the president can executive order that, but it can be, those things can be reversed, those things can be vetoed.
Right.
Whereas Congress really, like, once it's in place, like, it goes through a whole entire
Yep.
process
Yep.
of trying to redo it. So people are like, oh, well, we can do it now. And I think that's where this generation of up and coming voters are having to learn. That's also why I think in the state of Alabama, government and economics needs to be more than a 9-week class. But because I know in my, when I was,
I think mine was an entire year
when I was growing
in
up,
12th grade.
when I was growing up, it was 12th grade, and you had 9 weeks of government and 9 weeks of economics. It was
Maybe.
it was one semester, but you had 9 weeks of this class and 9 weeks of that.
Maybe I remember.
Because nowadays,
we didn't have that.
right? Well, because nowadays, like people
But we
don't.
do have Alabama history.
You learned
We
how to
didn't
write.
even have Kentucky history.
Well, I'm sure you learned how to write a check.
I did. I learned how to write
I
checks.
mean, it was my dad taught me that. I didn't, my dad or my aunt or somebody.
Yeah. Well, nowadays,
Yeah.
hell, my nephews can't even read in cursive.
Hey, fellow Blue Dots, don't forget you can find all of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button, and we would love a review. Okay, now back to the episode.
A lot of us have to do a lot of internal work to get to this place of maybe self-acceptance. Not even just self-acceptance, but like working through things that family members have said and done, the church has said and done. And I think that process that we do within ourselves, let me try to give like grace and mercy. Of course, the world doesn't see, but I think that's a very special thing that people need to know. It's not just like I come out and slap a rainbow across my head. There's so much that happens, and for me, like, pride is fun, but there's a side of me that's also like, it's not happy, because there's parts of me that do hold like feelings of shame and unworthiness. I think those are just, people don't know what they don't know, but which is why, I think it's important for us to tell our stories for those who don't understand, and trying to humanize us, because we are humans. Like, think of us like we are all in committed, very long-term relationships. Y'all are married, y'all are engaged, we're just shit or get off the pot. But like all in very like 10 plus year committed monogamous relationships. We look more like the example of a couple and families than a lot of other people do.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the years that you guys have and the years that y'all have, think of that. It's almost, when I was 23, 24, 25, 29, I didn't know anybody that had been together that long. I mean, there was people I knew that had been that long, but they were in a completely different age bracket than me. And, they had a lot of life under them. But nobody I knew back in my early 20s that I hung out with, that I could relate to, had even been with anybody more than a year or so. So, and I just think it's, y'all, your stories about college, and then y'all are lucky you figured it out, after college, and you didn't have to spend another 10, 15 years figuring it out and then finding somebody.
Oh, God.
And then starting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that also goes back to all of the work that had been done prior to.
Right.
Because, like, if I had...
That was mine.
Like, that's what I'm, that's what I'm getting to, is like, if I came out of it 2015, like, the marriage equality passes, and we're all celebrating in the streets. Like, that was the first time I'd seen, like, Auburn, like, people were rolling Toomer's Corner, like, because and they were like, what? And so people were like, what is going on? And it's like, people who sometimes we have like our own little secret, like handshakes or something to let people know, or that double take that we're like, hey, I know what's going on. But like, people were rolling Tumor's Corner and doing like celebrating at the bars and stuff. And I just remember someone was on the microphone that night and they said, we're going to celebrate our gay and lesbian friends because now our gay marriage has passed. It's no longer gay marriage. It's just marriage.
Yep.
And so but like you're saying,
You're not.
I grew up, like I came into that time where it was like, okay, great. I felt protected. I felt that this is the needle's moving in the right direction. How did I come out in like 2000?
Yep. I came out in 92.
I was like, how did I come out in 2000? How did I come out in 90? How did I come out in 80?
Yeah.
Like, how would the world have been different?
Yeah.
How would I have navigated differently?
It was, I remember after college, and that like 5 years after school, it was like you couldn't go somewhere unless it was DC or San Francisco or P-Town. You know, those were the only places you could go to hold somebody's hand. And if you did it, you were feeling like, oh my God, somebody's going to tackle me and all that type of stuff. And it just was, it was weird. It was like you didn't feel, and I think even when it got past, I had been in that protective mode so much of, I don't know what it's like to hold hands out in public. So it doesn't feel normal.
I don't.
Yeah.
Unless
Same.
we're.
I'm a non-PDA person. Like, I mean, I'll give hugs and whatnot,
Well, yeah.
but like, you
But
won't see Brandon and I like holding hands. You won't see us kissing in the streets. Like, you won't see all of that. Like, do we do that? Absolutely. But do we do it out in the public? No, but that's not like. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe we're just not those kind of people. But like, you know, if they do it, do it.
Yeah.
But like, we're not.
I
mean, I specifically don't because of where we live. Like, we go to New York, and it's a whole different story.
right.
Like-
yes. Right.
Yeah,
I've only been to New York once, and I loved it because I just felt freer there.
Oh.
Like,
yes.
I don't know, but then the same can be said of going to Chicago. Like going to Chicago, I saw like people walking down the streets and you know, holding hands, and same two ladies like kissing before they got hopped on the subway. Like,
It's
you know,
and all that's normal.
Yeah.
You know, they don't people
in their mind it's normal.
Yeah.
To my little country mind, I was like, oh my God, who's looking? Like I'm thinking,
right. You're like
my mind
paranoid.
goes to like, oh God, who?
Protective mode.
Right. What do we do? Like,
we don't do that
'Cause-
in Alabama. You know, we
well,
can't.
and the thing
you
is
know?
I wasn't judging them.
No.
I was letting them do what they were doing, but I was like daring a motherfucker to try to say something or do something because like I was ready.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Big Brother came out of me where I was like, okay, because I'm the oldest of three kids. Like, if there's any Big Brother, like, I'm a Big Brother.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna check in and like I'm always like aware of my surroundings, and so like and that may be a heightened sense of thing from being gay as well. Is like when I would be at the bars, when I would be downtown, when I would be places like. I never sit with my back to the door. I never sit
you're
like
always
like,
looking for
I'm
the
always
exit
on,
sign.
I'm always on guard.
How to get out of a situation. Yeah.
Right.
Because and that's the in my head thinking back now, that was my mother's, that was what she was afraid of. That's being out at a bar and somebody was, you know, doing something bad at a, you know, or, you know, just to, and that's what the meanness in the world.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
of that's what she was trying to save me from. And I was like, I ain't gonna let anybody be mean to me. I'll never let anybody mean. I'll stand up for myself. And thank God I've never had to, because I don't know what I mean, I would do it, but then I'd be like, and what? You know, what are you gonna do now? You know?
But that's why like things that are happening now, like with Trump rolling back things and you know the suicide hotlines being taken away.
Yes.
Like going to be shut down.
Yes.
And how great of a resource that was because folks like us didn't have that
Oh no.
growing up. And so like how nice would it have been to have, you know, been struggling with all of these thoughts and stuff at 15 and 16 and you know after all of this stuff had happened with my pastor, like I had contemplated like would the world be easier if I wasn't here? I'd even contemplated that. But it was one of those things where I was like, you know what? Like, I don't know how I conquered those thoughts, but those, you know, those invasive, intrusive thoughts of, you know, I'm the problem. And to know that we celebrate pride. There's a great meme or post out there that says it. We celebrate pride not because we're all proud of who we are, but that's not the main focus. The main focus is we celebrate pride to show visibility for the struggle that was before us, and because we need to be visible for the folks who are, for the kids and the youth who are coming of age and trying to figure themselves out, and they see that, because that's what I think a lot of people who are in the opposition don't want. They are against pride, not because they don't want us parading around. It's because they don't want their child or their nephew or their niece or, you know, their brother, sister, uncle, cousin to see that there are successful people living their life and being free to be who they want to be. Because right now, I mean, even like with my situation, like there are a lot of people out there who would love to just, you know, pummel me with Bible verses and tell me how awful of a person I'm going to be for being gay and a Christian and a Democrat and all of these things, like, you know, but like, because they want to paint a certain picture of who you are. If you look at media, we're always painted as the person with mental health problems. We're always painted as the person who's going through a lot of shit. And the thing is everybody's going through something.
Everybody's going through that, most of that same stuff, you know?
Everybody's going through something, but why is it always the gay person in the telenovela? I don't know what to call it. But like the soap opera, the telenovela, the movie, like the gay person, they do all of these things to like paint a certain picture of who that person is, because they want you to see that person. But then when you go to a pride parade and you see like everybody that's in this parade is a doctor, lawyer, attorney, like they're a real estate agent, like they're out there professional, living their life and just proud of who they are.
Right.
Because who you love doesn't change like the work that you do.
Right.
And oftentimes very boring.
Yeah.
Like we just people that want to, you know, have somebody who loves us and that we love them, and we have, you know, a place that we call home. Everybody has a different like meaning around like what home is to them. But I think when you are a member of the queer community and you feel that as soon as you leave your home and that safe space, you immediately have to like be on your guard and almost like put on armor, or maybe not even armor, but everything is measured, all of your interactions, what you say, what you share, what you don't share, how much do you share, and then being able to come home and have all of that just like wash off and leave. I don't know, that's why like home to me is important. And I think maybe we'll circle this back to like real estate, while like helping others and especially members of the queer community find that true home, safe space, because we have some, but kind of like you mean like the world itself is not the safe space.
Right. Because a lot of information, I mean, this goes back to what we were talking about when Brandon and I were purchasing a home, was, you know, we thought we had to have the 20% down.
Yeah.
But then talking to somebody, we're like, oh, so we don't. Okay. So it eliminated that pathway to home ownership that, you know, was once, that barrier that was once there. And so like, that's why a lot of the advocacy work that we do with the association is important, because, you know, there's so many people, not just in the queer community, I mean, you have like the Black community, the Hispanic community, we even have a Caribbean community that's very heavy and prevalent here. Asian, like we have so many facets to diversity, which is like a triggering word to so many people. But the thing is that like we laugh about it, but like, you know, diversity isn't just limited to one group. Because when we, especially at the association, like we're focusing more on fair housing, but diversity is just a part of it because fair housing affects so many of the marginalized groups in this area, but like across the nation. And so like you were saying, it's very important to me to eliminate those pathways, eliminate the barrier. To give a more clear pathway to home ownership. Because there are so many people that I've spoken to, that, they come from maybe the transgender community. And transgender community is very heavily in the drag community. And we're talking about these families, like we're talking about homes. And they have drag families. And they have these homes that, the house of this and house of that. Because when you don't feel like you're part of a home, and then some motherly, fatherly figure takes you in and says, well, you're my son or you're my daughter now. Like, you feel protected. You feel empowered, emboldened to just be yourself. You now have someone else to lean on. And then, so like talking to these folks and understanding like where they're coming from, where they feel like, well, I'll never have that because, my dad told me I would never, my job isn't what it needs to be. Like, does having a good paying job, like, afford you a nice house? Absolutely. But you can still have the job that you have and afford to live somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
And you may not be able to own it, but you can sure as hell rent. Because what do they say? You can't buy love, but you can rent it. Like, so the thing is that like you may not be able to purchase a home right now, and that is the key word that I keep telling people is right now. You may not be able to purchase right now, but if you keep having these positive relationships with the people that are around you, and you're consistent and you're adamant and that's the goal, say it, visualize it, put it into motion, because 10 years from now, you'll be living in it. And, because a lot of us started careers and, where we are now is not where we were 10 years ago.
Oh, Lord, no.
Because if where I was now, if I was where I was 10 years ago, like, I mean, I would be right on back, just fresh out of college, not knowing what the hell I wanted to do, or like no sense of purpose. I didn't feel like I could be in any leadership capacity.
Right.
And yet, here I am. And I feel like our experiences help us in leading and guiding folks to their ultimate goal. And so I love that sentiment of, we have found what home feels like for us, and we want to help find other folks find what home feels like for them.
Hey, fellow Blue Dots, we would love for you to connect with us on social media. We're on Instagram at raisedredlivingblue_pod and TikTok at raisedred_livingblue. Okay, back to the episode. Any just closing thoughts? Pride, chosen family.
Chosen family. I love my chosen family. I don't know. I get excited that each year goes on to meet people I haven't and develop relationships with them. And I'm an open book, and I like to put my arms around all kinds of people. So
You're good about that.
Yeah. I don't know. Just want to stay healthy and happy, and hope all my friends are as well.
Jamie, any thoughts that we're coming to the end of the closing of Pride? I really appreciate that point of it's about visibility, and it's about visibility for our community and those who are searching for a community or may not know they need one yet?
I'm very happy, especially here in Birmingham. I mean, we always say it's like the little blue dot in a red state. And I'm very happy that Birmingham has situated itself to be that way, because I'm just fortunate to be a part of this community and be able to help and assist people that, like Joey said, like would not have otherwise had the opportunity to assist, whether that be in real estate or even legislation. Like, because I'm very political. If you haven't noticed, I'm very, like, I keep up with it a lot, and you know, I try to not talk people, because I can talk. I should be a filibuster. I should be the filibuster. I could filibuster like nobody's business.
Get all the transcripts of like the past 17 seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right.
Just that'll be your phone
Right.
book.
You've been talking
From
for
the
48
beginning.
hours.
Right. From the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that we have to continue to show up, because if we don't, I put this in my post for Pride, and I even said this in a sales meeting last week. If not you, then who?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Yep.
And so, like, if not you, then who? We have to just continue to show up and, you know, be who we are and be proud of who we are and show folks that, you know, we're not going to go away.
Yeah.
So
And we're normal.
We're normal. Like,
Normies.
I mean, how normal do we look?
right.
Other than my haircut, but
It's the best.
yeah, but you know, there's some people out there who you know may not be considered
Right,
normal,
right, yeah.
like in the world's eyes. But
Oh, God,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
they are still deserving
Oh,
of
absolutely.
you know blessings and everything that should come their way. Like I
Blessings, love, acceptance, equality,
Right.
protection, safety.
all of that. And so, like, I think that we have to continue to just show up and show out and show that, you know, we are, this community is, our LGBTQ community is all about love and acceptance and inclusion. And we just want the same equity that everybody else, like, deserves.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's why us, like, our community gets lumped into so many other facets of government, is because, you know, everyone says, like, oh, we even talked about this before this started. Like, one of my friends is celebrating, at a celebration for one of New York's first transgender, like, attorneys or people for the Senate. I can't remember what it was. The fact that, like, somebody is posting on Facebook celebrating that, because that is somebody who said, you know what? The only way to affect this change is going to be to get involved.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you want to see change happen, get involved.
Yeah.
If you don't want change to happen, don't do anything.
And don't talk about it.
Right. And don't,
If you're not going to do anything about it,
Yeah.
don't
then
talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's another thing, that people get so upset and mad about things that happened, and they're like, well, what did you do about it? Nothing.
I said on.
I bitched
Right.
on my keyboard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, write your senators, write your, if you don't know who your senator is,
Oh,
like,
God, we got a problem.
it's like, if you don't know who your senators are, we got problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am, in this house, we do not vote Tommy Tuberville.
Roll Tide.
If you don't know who your senator is, find out. If you don't know who your city
Council.
member is, get involved, because city council doesn't, like, the council itself speaks for the entire city, but like, there are the city's even compartmentalized.
Yep.
So, like, find out who your representative is. That you have so many voices that are speaking on your behalf, and if you don't know who they are, and you just voted for them because they had a letter by their name,
Yep.
like, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yep.
And I'm that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
There you go.
Because you truly have to know who's speaking on your behalf when it comes to matters of state affairs. Like,
Agreed.
you have to.
I think that's a perfect closeout.
Yeah. And cut.
And scene.
I love y'all. Thanks for being here.
Yay! Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Woo!
Hey, fellow Blue Dots, thank you for tuning in to our Pride Month special. You can find all our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you like what we're doing here at Raised Red Living Blue, hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Connect with us on social media via Instagram and TikTok. Keep up the fight. We will see y'all next week.
Politics of fear and hate are wrong. We love you and politics of
But America,
love are right.
we are not going back.